Good evening and welcome to the Invictus Racing League's PS F2 League for the Canadian Grand Prix, brought to you in partnership by GridFinder.com, Nailcoat Hall, and Driver61. I am Tim, back with my co-commentator, Malk. How are you doing today? It has been a couple of weeks since I've got to talk to you.
It feels like decades, doesn't it, mate? How you doing? You okay? All good?
I'm doing fine, just ready to see these drivers race around this circuit for the Canadian Grand Prix, but of course we need to get qualifying out of the way first. Just over 15 minutes remaining in this session as you see Ginger Tiger in the Aston Martin for his flying lap now. We'll ride on board with him, and oh, he hits the wall right out of that chicane, and you might remember that very infamous chicane. Of course, that chicane being the one where Sebastian Vettel cut the corner and, as judged by the stewards, decided that it was an unfair cut and was thus stripped of the 2019 Canadian Grand Prix victory.
Absolutely, and it's just, the stewards just deemed it as unsafe, and Vettel, that famous scene where he moved the positions, that was the one, wasn't it, when he moved his positions across. And Joe Hamster has retired from the session already, so I'm just wanting to find out what actually happened. Has he crashed at or was he retired? Looks like he crashed at the Wall of Champions. Correct me if I'm wrong, Tim, but it looks like there was a crash at the Wall of Champions.
Yes, you are correct, actually. Ginger Tiger just went by the stopped car of Joe Hamster. Might have even impeded his lap time a little bit. A 1:10.497 for the Aston Martin driver. Let's take a look at Mr. Steen in the Williams now. He is on a flying lap, still in the first sector. There is that little chicane that we were talking about, and he does not get into the wall. Now approaching the second sector. Purple in the first sector was the Williams of Mr. Steen. Now this second sector, this corner here, you got to be so very gentle on the throttle, because if you floor it a little bit too early, you're going to spin. And I know that that's a characteristic of these cars, so you're going to find that at pretty much every racetrack. But what makes that corner so special is it's got a DRS zone right out of the corner. So right when you get there, you can activate that DRS, and then you can get a great run down that straightaway as long as you set yourself up for a good exit out of the corner. And of course, this is another DRS straight, a very long straightaway. This is where most of the overtakes are going to be happening today, is down this straight and into the chicane past the Wall of Champions. But this chicane is also going to be time penalty central today. Mr. Steen doing a good job to avoid those track limits, and as he crosses the line, he goes quickest, a 109.676 and a 109.678, 2/1000ths of a second slower is Simon Palmer in the Ferrari.
Fair play to those guys. That was a fantastic lap. I'm just going to watch Luke Bailey now, the other Ferrari driver, just coming up to the chicane part, which is near the Wall of Champions. Oh, trying to get that clip of the wall and try and close the gap. 110.188. I was getting ahead of myself there. 1 minute 10.188, Tim.
So Luke Bailey having to go out for a second lap to get that time, but he got it at the end of the day, and that's what matters. Here is Light Dave in the Alpine. We'll see what he can do, as he has just now started his flying lap, or his second flying lap, rather. Apparently he invalidated the first one, but he is going fairly slow, probably going to pit for a fresh set of softs and then try it again. So let's take a look at taking L's in the Red Bull. So far, so good on his lap time. He's in the second sector and about to approach that very tricky hairpin. A decent second sector. Let's see what kind of run he gets down this straightaway. A nice smooth line off corner exit. And now he's got a DRS zone that he can just open that rear wing and let it fly, sunshine.
Let it fly as well. It's just Nico. It's just got himself into fourth with a 110.177. So that's a good time for him. Taking out Els has moved to fourth, just ahead of it's just Nico with 1 minute 10.070, Tim.
M. Doran, you see him there in third. He is currently our F2 points leader. He has had I'd say he's had a great couple of races, scoring 15 points in the last 2 races. So that is victory for M. Doran. Of course, Luke Bailey, who you were just talking about, in second, and Ginger Tiger in third. It's just Nico fourth in the points, and taking L's in fifth. That's your top 5. And of course, in the constructor standings, it is no surprise to anyone to see Haas on top of the constructor standings, despite M. Doran being the lone Haas car out there. Then Ferrari, AlphaTauri, Williams, and Aston Martin, your top 5 there.
Absolutely. Don't forget, Maggott was the reserve driver, correct me if I'm wrong, the reserve driver back in the Brazilian Grand Prix, so he was driving the Haas car. So he had that 8 points that he got. So basically, the constructors in the Haas team, they have got 38. It looks like I thought there was a team missing, but it looked like there was the points itself. So 38 points to the Haas team. So, and Doran, who's, as you rightly said, he's having a good form, 2 wins on the bounce. Could he make the hat trick, Tim?
Maybe so. We'll see today. He's currently starting in 3rd. We'll see if that's where he, in fact, does start at the end of this qualifying, but just over 10 minutes remaining to decide that. Mr. Steen and Simon Palmer going out for a lap, as well as Tarak, who we're watching now. Eric Pancake's looking like he's going to go on a lap. We got 3 drivers who have yet to set a lap time, like Dave, Tarak, and Eric Pancakes. Here comes Tarak to cross the line to start his flying lap. Let's ride on board with him for the entire lap and see what he sees around this circuit. Of course, it's a very tricky turn 1, but an even trickier turn 2. It is pretty much an acute angle that you're turning in, so it's one of those corners that you have to pretty much turn around and kiss your own rear end in order to make the corner accurately. And then, of course, there's the Vettel corner, or whatever you want to call it. I'm a Vettel fan, so I just will never let that go. And then the end of the first sector is here. The start of the second sector is now. And again, this is that very tricky corner that you got to be very gentle on the throttle, and you could hear just how gentle Tarak was on that throttle out of that corner. Now, this is a chicane that you can really make up a lot of time. It's a very fast chicane, usually going through there at about 4th gear, but you can also pick up a time penalty, and you have to get a good run out of that chicane to set yourself up for that straightaway entering the hairpin. A very tight hairpin. The closer you can cut that, the better, and then you need to get a great exit out of there, and then it is just flooring it along with activating the DRS until you get to that final chicane, where you might pick up a time penalty. Let's see if Tarak picks one up. Yeah, might pick up a time penalty, but so far so good for Tarak. A little bit of a time loss there, and as he crosses the line, Tarak will go 4th quickest, a 109.798.
That's a good time from Tarak. Instead of a lot, to be fair, 109.7, misses out by 5/10 of the Warrislander, who did a 109.234. 109.234 from the Warrislander. That's insane, Tim. That is absolutely insane. Just looking at Elite Dave, NL Dave with 13th, as well as Pancakes. Eric Pancakes is just going to the pits, actually. So Elite NL Dave is just doing the first sector now. He's done a 19.384. So I don't know whether that will be a quicker time at the moment. Probably not purple to what the Warrislander has done. But looking at those times, it's been from 1st to 10th, well, actually 1st to 11th is pretty much 1 second. That is insane. It looks like, Giga Tiger's got up to 3rd. Actually, I tell a lie, Simon Palmer did a 109.4. Giga Tiger's did a 109.588. M. Doris did a 109.592. Mr. Steen, who's just still there with a 109.676. That's mad. Let's see how Dave can try and do it through the chicane, passing the wall of champions. And he's coming up to the straight line, and he has done a 109.798, equal with Tarak. Tim.
And let's just take a look at this to say how insane it is. The entire top 12, every driver that has set a time in this session is within 1 second of each other. The entire field that has set a time is within a second of each other in lap times. Eric Pancakes, he's going out for a lap now. It's very possible that he is able to keep that streak alive so that every driver who has set a time in this qualifying will still be within a second. We'll wait and see what happens. Here you see Light Dave just making his way back to the pits. No one else on a lap, but let's take a look at Eric Pancakes. Give him a little bit of love today. We have not talked about him as of late. He has not had the best of the starts to the season, but Eric is still here, and he's still racing with us, and he's looking to turn his luck around today in Canada. And to be fair, he's not had an awful season. He just hasn't quite got that win that everyone's always searching for.
Yeah, it will come. don't get me wrong, it will come, but it's just the look as well, and you get that, once you get that look, you get that, the consistency, and that's what you need. You need to get that consistency going. And once you get into the top 3, that's where you start to build your confidence, and then when you get the confidence build up, you get to like second, then first, and you know it all, like it'll be, you wait for a bus, and then 2 come along to get your couple of wins on the bounce. So it will take a bit of time for Eric Pancakes, but hopefully he will be back to his old self. So he's just done a 19.624 on his first sector in that Red Bull car. Let's hope he gets some wings moments there as well. So trying to push on. Looks like Beck has joined in late during the qualifying, so he will, whatever happens, if he can try and get into the time before the qualifying finishes, will be fine. 41.475 is the second sector. So that was from Eric Pancakes with the Red Bull car. He's going to the DRS straight now. And this is I always feel like the third sector is the most easiest one. It's just the chicane, where you can easily get penalties galore. And people are going to be losing out with the Wall of Champions if they don't watch it. But then again, I've seen it many times this season, and Eric Pancakes has done a 1 minute 10.155. So look at that. That is still within the 1 second barrier, guys. That is still within the 1 second barrier. So that is insane from the F2 crew. Absolutely insane. But going back, here's a question to you actually, Tim. We've seen a few times, not in the F2, but like in the performance leagues, we've seen drivers make mistakes on corners that we would not expect it to see or happen or do. Are you going to expect some weird spins at certain corners, or are we going to see minimal mistakes tonight?
I think we are actually going to see a few weird spins at certain corners because, for one thing, the curbs in some of these corners are a little bit higher and more elevated than others. And as you know very well, Malk, is that if you use one of those curbs just a little bit too much, it can upset the car and it can spin you around. Now, compound that with the fact that most drivers traditionally, in my experience, do not like Canada. I am actually an exception to that fact where I love this track. But most drivers do not like Canada. It adds an element of drivers pretty much going into this thinking, oh my goodness, there's a lot of pressure. I want to do well, as Simon Palmer goes to 109.124, the quickest time on the board so far. But it adds a lot of pressure to the driver because they want to do well. And sometimes you can crack under that pressure and you just end up making silly mistakes.
Absolutely. And like I said, from certain points of this track that I've seen many, many times, you would expect the mistakes to happen at the hairpin corner and at the Wall of Champions. But weirdly, in this game, that I would expect to see would be the fast right-hander to the left just before the end of the second sector. That's where I'm going to see a bit of a mistake from there, and it's just going to be some unrealistic mistakes, shall we say, throughout the race itself. But 2 minutes 15 left of the qualifying, and unbelievable from Simon Palmer, the Ferrari driver, who's it's just insane. He's just gone ahead by over a tenth to the Warris Lander. So I'm just seeing Warris Lander can try and improve his time. So he's just coming to the first sector now, and it's quite interesting with under 2 minutes left of the qualifying. He's 300s quicker, Tim. He's 300s quicker, and he's purple on the first sector. Oh, he spun! He has spun! Warris Lander spun! He has spun! I told you, Tim. Commentator's curse. That's where the unexpected spin will happen on one part of the corner, Tim.
And is that not the corner that I was saying that you have to be very easy on the throttle because the DRS zone right out of the corner? That is a corner that you're going to see a lot of drivers spin on today, Malk. I, for one, have made that mistake many times. I don't know what it is about that corner, but for some reason, it can just spin you like that.
Absolutely, and it's just, if you don't do that concentration at all, it's gonna scare the living daylights out of you, to be fair. But hopefully that's not going to compromise too much. But Andorran, who's the championship leader in the F2 League with 2 wins on the bounce after 3 rounds. I don't think he participated in the first race, but he did participate in the last 2 races. But he's in third at the minute, but he's invalidated his lap, so I think he'll have enough time to do 1 more lap. But I'm worried about his tyre wear because that could cost him dearly.
Well, he actually set the 3rd fastest lap
Ted.
while Warislander was spinning. But one thing I do want to point out, Malk, as Elite Dave and Tarak are both on flying laps, take a look at their lap times. The Alpine teammates have the exact same lap time at the moment. I'm sure it's going to change by the time the qualifying session ends. But if you want 2 teammates that are consistent and equal on pace, look no further than the 2 Alpine in Invictus Racing League's PS F2 League of Elite Dave and Tarak.
Oh my God, Tim, I'm so sorry to interrupt you there. Dave went through the chicane and lost it completely and hit the wall, not the wall of champions, hit the wall on the other side where the pit stop is. Tim.
And Tarak slowed down to let another competitor by. So the 2 Alpine drivers actually will end the qualifying session with the exact same time to the 1,000th of a second. Simon Palmer still in command. The Warislander second. Mr. Steen in third. Everyone's just now finishing up their lap. Oh, it's just Nico finishes up his lap. He is in 6th at the moment. Tarak still on a lap, but as I said, he is already conceded that fast lap. Let's see what Eric Pancakes can do. Going through the final chicane. No invalidation there, but he hits the wall. Oh, and he does invalidate it because of hitting the wall. So Eric Pancakes' time will be a 110.155. What you see is what you get. Congratulations to Simon Palmer.
I was going to say, take it out. Just about to do his lap, finish up his lap, but not improve. He's just slow down a little bit. And you're all right, Tim. I think that's what we're going to see, is what we're going to get with the qualifying. Unbelievable stuff, Tim. Absolutely unbelievable at the Canadian Grand Prix qualifying.
And again, the entire field is close to being within 1 second of each other. The exception being Simon Palmer with a 109.124, Eric Pancakes a 110.155. Just a few hundredths of a second off of being within a full second of each other, the entire field. So if you want close, hard racing, the Invictus Racing League is where you look to get that. And you're going to see that here in, what would you say, Mac? Less than 10 minutes. Maybe less than 5.
Maybe less than a couple of minutes, Tim, to be fair. We'll just have to wait and see how it goes. But the way it looks at the minute, it's going to be intense stuff. So I'll let you do the classification.
Here are your official starting order for the Invictus Racing League's PS F2 League. Simon Palmer on the pole in the Ferrari, the Warislander in second, Mr. Steen in third, taking L's in fourth, M. Doran in fifth, oh, it's just Nico in sixth, Ginger Tiger in seventh, Luke Bailey in eighth, G. Queasy in ninth, Delange in 10th, 11th is Light Dave, Tarak in 12th, 13th is Beck 9000, Eric Pancakes in 14th, and Joe Hamster in 15th after unfortunately not being able to set a time in qualifying due to a crash. Let's see if he has better luck in the race, but what you see is what you get. Simon Palmer on the pole, and with that, it is time for us and our lovely viewers to join in on our predictions. In any order, how do you think the top three is going to look?
That's the most difficult question we always get every week, to be fair, Tim. I'm going to say M. Doran because he's going to be on. He's going to try and get into that top three. So I say M. Doran. Oh, it's raining. It is raining. Cats and dogs. Oh my God, that's insane.
That makes the decision a lot harder, doesn't it?
Yeah, I did not expect that. So yeah, I think. I don't know now. I'll tell you what, I'm going to stick with M. Doran, Simon Palmer, and Warislander in any order.
I'm going to go with M. Doran, the Warislander, and Luke Bailey in any order.
Oh, Luke Bailey. Oh, okay.
Something about Luke Bailey, I don't know why. I feel like maybe once within the last 2 years that I've been commentating for Invictus that I've heard him mention that he likes wet weather races. I don't know if I'm right about that. I'm literally just going by gut instinct here. So do not quote me on that.
I am quoting you on that one, Tim. I'm quoting you on that after this race. But yeah, we're going to have a full wet start of the race itself at the Canadian Grand Prix. And it's going to be entertainment, guys. If you are watching the stream, good evening to you all. Please make sure you like and subscribe to the Invictus Racing League YouTube channel for all the live races itself. We're aiming for at least 10 likes tonight on this stream. Please, can you click that like button? We're aiming for at least 10 likes tonight. That'll be fantastic. Thank you so much. And like I said, it's been a very long time since we did a commentary, Tim, of a full wet race start. So I think with the race itself, it's going to be tough at the start as well.
It is. And I think the last one that we commentated on was actually a bit of a disaster, because I can't remember if it was commentating with you or if I was commentating with someone else in a different league. But there was a time where it was raining at the start, but the entire field was on dry tires because for whatever reason, it would not let them choose to go onto the wets.
Oh.
What was that with you?
That must be ages ago, Tim. That must be ages ago, I think. But I might be wrong.
It might have been in a different league, but regardless, I've seen that scenario happen before, and to say that I was just at a loss for words would be an understatement. Didn't understand why people were not choosing the intermediate tires when it is very obviously raining, until I realized that no one chose it because no one was able to.
True, but it's weird now. But hopefully that's eliminated, and that should be the opportunity now to give them the full wet tyres. But they did not have enough time to pick their tyre wear as quickly as possible. And now Luke Bailey and Beck have had the DSQ, so they're going to have cold tyres at the start of the race. So here you go, Tim. It's all yours.
In an honor it is each and every week, Malk. You see the drivers just finding their appropriate positions on the grid, and we are ready to go. You hear those engines revving, you hear those itchy pedal feet, the drivers watching the lights. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 red lights in the air. No red lights. We are green for the Invictus Racing League PlayStation F2 League Canadian Grand Prix in a very wet race. G Queasy with a drive-through penalty after a jump start. Simon Palmer drops down to third. The Warslander in second now. The Williams and Mr. Steen up to fourth, and M. Doran in fifth. A lot of jostling around for position. Joe Hamster somehow making his way all the way up to seventh place. Have no idea how he was able to do that, but he wrecked in qualifying. You wouldn't know. Looking at his performance now, already in P7, the McLaren of Beck 9000 making a move up into 11th around Turok, or at least trying to. He has to now fall back in line and follow Turok through. Just up ahead, more jostling around for position. Look at DeLange there. DeLange in the Williams. He has got the Alpine of Elite Dave on his rear end and stuck to it. Elite Dave thinking about making a move underneath of him, but not able to do anything with it. DeLange actually throws a block on him. And now Elite Dave tries to go back around him. DeLange goes back into the racing line, so Elite Dave has no choice but to follow him. And now he's got his chance. He might be able to make a move on him. Oh, but DeLange kind of squeezes him a little bit as they approach the hairpin. Elite Dave's going to be on the outside. If he can get a good exit, this is going to be the preferred line here, but only if he can get a better exit than the Williams, and he will not be able to do that. Oh, he did though. DeLange had to concede. He had no choice. He had to concede the position. So now it's a drag race down the straightaway. Remember, no DRS in the rain and no DRS on lap 1, so it is just pure pace that you are watching right now from these drivers. Entering the chicane, though, will there be contact? There is a little bit of contact, just maybe. It was close, but Elite Dave gets into the 8th position. 9th is DeLange, as the Warslander sets the fastest lap and so far is leading the race, as G Queasy is taking his drive-through penalty now. Or is he? He's actually still on track. No, he's just lost 2 positions. He is still on track. He's still got the drive-through. Mr. Steen is approaching G Queasy and might be able to get around that Aston Martin sooner rather than later.
I'll tell you what, Tim, while you was watching that battle with Dave DeLange, G Queasy and Mr. Steen, they were having a 2-wide moment, and now Simon Palmer's also getting close to Warris Lander for first. Oh, G Queasy has gone off track. He's gone off track. Mr. Steen is going to third, and we've got yellow flag sector 2. And that was, I believe, that moment. Yeah, Queasy went onto that just after the first sector. He went wide. But he tried to get himself back in and into the track. But like I said, Mr. Dean got himself back up to third. And I tell you what, that's a bad start. And Dave, and taking L's with that Red Bull car to give him some wings. He hasn't got enough wings to get past. Oh, he's just slowing down. Oh, Delange has moved up to 7th. Taking L's dropped down to 8th place. What a start for this the Invictus Racing League, the F2 League on the PlayStation platform, Tim.
Oh, it's just Nico going through that final chicane. Oh, what's happened now?
And Doran lost the car completely after the chicane. I'm so sorry to interrupt you there, Tim, but he completely lost that car, and now he's going to lose a few positions. But Joe Hamster out of nowhere had a terrible qualifying, and with no time at all, he actually crashed at the Wall of Champions, and now he's in 4th place. What's going on?
Oh, I'm riding on board with DeLange and the Williams, and he's making a move around him. Dorner trying to. He's looking on the inside. Just ahead of him, though, is the Alpine of Light Dave, and he had a moment to where he was wiggling and dancing around with that car. DeLange thought about making a move on M. Dorn, even tried it. Not able to do it, so M. Dorn has got back ahead of DeLange in the 6th position. DeLange in 7th, having to follow that Haas through, and now through this chicane he's losing even more time to the Haas of M. Doran, who somehow, some way is figuring out how to find speed in this car. But I'm almost wondering, some of these drivers, I'm almost wondering if they didn't realize that the race was going to be a wet start, so they have a dry setup, because you see some drivers really struggling, where some of them are able to just take off. Joe Hamster being one of them, who is absolutely taken off, already in the 4th position. And remember, he started in 15th. It is lap 3. If it was not raining, DRS would have just now became active. So Joe Hamster, in 3 laps, 4 now because it's lap 4, has made his way from 15th to 4th. 11 positions. That is impressive no matter what. And he does not have a time penalty. He doesn't have a drive-through. There is no jump start there. He just did it because he got a great start and he's fast. So I'm wondering, that Mercedes, he's got to have a wet weather setup in that car. But does M. Doran have a setup that would be more suited for a dry racetrack? Because he is struggling.
Well, to be fair though, Tim, and I've seen this many times throughout the years on the Invictus Racing League, the droid setup can work beneficial to the wets itself. You just have to manoeuvre or change a few setups. Like change the aero, change the suspension just a little bit. But you could still have the dry setup, but just with a mixture of that would work in the wets itself. So I'm just looking at the Alpine and the Haas car, which I think that might be Elite 10 now, Dave and M. Doran. M. Doran's going to try and close the gap. He's trying to close the gap onto the straight line speed and try and go onto the chicane. They're going to the Wall of Champions now. Oh, Dave has lost it a little bit, so this has now brought M. Doran into play. If M. Doran can try and make the move into turn 1, this would be fantastic. Oh, he was teasing us, Tim. He was absolutely teasing us.
And M. Doran, he's maybe teasing Elite Dave too, looking underneath, trying to get around, but Light Dave with a better exit is going to be able to hang on to that 5th position at the moment. Very careful through this chicane. Light Dave goes a little bit wide, but keeps it off the wall, and that's what's important. M. Doran, he's really biding his time, though. I know I said that he was struggling because he very much does look like he is struggling compared to what we're used to seeing from M. Doran from the last 2 races. But 6th place is still nothing to scoff at. That is a respectable position, especially in a wet race such as this. So the best thing that he can do is just bide his time and be patient. He's got a semi-decent gap out the back, and of course with it raining, there's no risk of DRS and him being overtaken through DRS. So he can focus on that Alpine and figure out where he is weak and where he is strong in comparison, and then think about how to make his move. Because if you watch, Light Dave is wiggling a little bit more on the corner exits than M. Doran is. Just out of that last corner, you saw M. Doran have a little bit of a moment, but a few corners before, you had a Light Dave who had a big moment. So it all depends on your throttle control in wet weather racing.
Absolutely, and if you don't master it, then you can't control the car completely. at all. And it's a common sense, to be fair. Especially in the wet conditions as well. You try to like ease the throttle just to try and get that balance right, or try and get out of the corners quickly in that quick time without spinning at the same time. So it's, oh my god, M. Doran had a great exit through down the hill, but now M. Doran could have a chance to try and close the gap onto Dave, but not enough yet. Let's see how M. Doran can try and come up to the corner where for the DRS straight. I bet these guys would really want this DRS activated in the wet conditions rather than the dry conditions, because they want to try and make the moves done as quickly as possible. But at the moment, it's been a close battles galore, and we've got a couple of battles at the moment. We're watching this now. Dave, M. Doran, and DeLange closing in for 5th, 6th, and 7th. Also the battle for 8th, which is taking hours, and it's just Nico. And then you got Beck and Luke Bailey for 10th and 11th, and also the battle for 12th and 13th, which is Giga Tiger and Eric Pancakes. Oh my god, M. Doran! M. Doran's making the move! Too wide! Oh, I don't know whether he's lost a bit of wing, M. Doran. And now it's brought Delange into play.
DeLange gets around M. Doran for the 6th position. Now he's set to sights on the Light Dave in the Alpine. M. Doran, I think he might have a little bit of wing damage, probably some minor damage, as the Light Dave kind of did use him up a little bit on the exit of that corner. And M. Doran, as you saw, made contact with the wall, which, generally you're not supposed to do in a race car. So M. Doran is going to be struggling around this race course, but he is still taking the fight to DeLange. Cannot make a move this time. Wasn't even going to think about it. A very smart move there indeed. But it looks like DeLange might be a little bit faster than that Haas now, and that was the opportunity that he was waiting for, and he seized the moment. Now he's got his sights set on a Light Dave, who, honestly, I thought that DeLange would have got past by now, but that Alpine is just rapid today in the wet.
Absolutely, Tim, absolutely. But like I said, that times that we saw in the qualifying, they're all getting close, and you can see on the grid itself, they're all getting close.
We have a safety car.
Oh, G. Creasy has retired. That's why G. Creasy has retired from the session. And now, Simon Palmer also got ahead of Morris Lander for the lead itself. Now, G. Creasy, a couple of laps ago, he gambled on the intermediates, but I don't think it's intermediate conditions. It's still full wet conditions, the way it looks at the moment, Tim, but it was worth a gamble for G. Creasy because he was having a torrid time today with at the Canadian Grand Prix. So I'm hoping he'll have some luck next week for round 5 at the Invictus Racing League, the F2 League, Tim.
Yeah, and I really don't know what to say there with G. Queasy and the intermediate tires. I think that might have just been a pit crew error or a driver error, but nonetheless, he is out of this race, unfortunately. But now look at the Light Dave. He is pitted for the intermediate tire, so maybe some of these drivers are thinking about taking a gamble, but I'm in agreement with you, Malk, is that the rain, it might have let up a little bit since we started, but I don't think it's quite enough to justify a move to the intermediate tires just quite yet. But I guess we'll see if it works out for Light Dave. He was already rapid on the full wet, so if he can be rapid on the intermediate tires and time this change just right, then we could see him punch through the field. But this is the Invictus Racing League's PlayStation F2 League, brought to you in partnership by GridFinder.com, Nailcoat Hall, and Driver61. Big shout out to our sponsors for jumping on board and supporting the stream and the league as a whole. Malk, what are you thinking of this race so far?
Entertaining, to be fair, Tim. It's been absolutely entertaining because it's been close battles. There's not been much overtakes, but it's been some very close battles, and we had 2 wide scenario at the chicane near the World Champions. But that incident there, correct me if I'm wrong, Tim, that incident, it looked like M. Doran did not have any room at all when he's trying to make that move. But that's going to cost him if he's got any damage in his wings. Sorry, then that means he's going to have damage on the tires. But at the moment, it looks like he's okay. The way it looks at the moment on his driving, but that's the only concern that I've seen from the battles that we saw. It looked like he was trying to make the move, but it was a bold move. Would you have made that move, though, Tim?
I don't know. It's early in the race. I kind of feel like I'd be just a tad bit more patient.
Yeah, I do agree. I think you have to be patient and trying to, because you don't want to make a bold move earlier on because it could cost you the race. It could cost you your points. And that's what's going to be the damage limitations. But luckily, M. Doran is still racing at the moment, so he's all right at the moment. So the Drivers' Championship leader at the moment, but he's in 6th place at the moment. So what does he have to do to catch after the safety car? Well, safety car's in this lap, Tim. Safety car is in this lap. What does M. Doran have to do?
M. Doran, honestly, I think that he just needs to get as many points today as possible. He has got to think about the big picture, and I don't care if we have got 2 races left, or if we've got 10 races left, or if we've got 20 races left. You always have to think about that big picture, and when you find yourself in or around the points lead, sometimes points is better than going after a win. So M. Doran, if he can get up there, go ahead and try it. Otherwise, he just needs to worry about points today, as we are back green and Beck 9000 already with a 3-second time penalty, but the Warslander and Simon Palmer duking it out for the lead here and going through turn 2. Look at how much wheel the Warslander is having to give that car. It really just goes to show how much grip that there is not to be had out here on this race course.
Absolutely, and like I said, Warslander, he's trying to push that car to the limits. He's pushing that car to that limit as much as possible, but hopefully he'll try and catch up to Simon Palmer. But to be fair, though, I've been really impressed with Simon Palmer at the restart of this. I know it's just early doors at the minute, but I've been quite impressed with his pace at the Canadian Grand Prix, Tim, to be fair.
I really have too. Even in the drive, he was fairly quick, and by fairly quick, I mean he got the pole. So even in the wet, you see that he is still quick. So it doesn't matter what, Simon Palmer is going to have a fast car underneath him today. And that's really what you've come to expect from Simon Palmer. He has been racing in the Invictus Racing League for, I'd say, longer than I've even been here. I remember him back when he went by the name Mr. P. So Simon Palmer is a grizzled veteran of these races. So he knows what he's doing.
Yeah, he'll know what he's doing, and he's got the fastest lap of the race now with a 1:22.679. We just nearly had another M. Doran moment, but this time it was taken out, and it's just Nico. Nico tried to get onto the inside, but he backed off. He backed off at the chicane. So he's played it cool, he's played it calm in that race itself.
Looking at taking L's right there, and ahead you can see him, Doran and DeLange, having a calm battle for position, along with, is that the Mercedes of Joe Hamster? It is the Mercedes of Joe Hamster in 4th place. The biggest mover in the field by far today, going from 15th place all the way to 4th so far. Might be going to 5th here in a moment because DeLange is getting a little bit closer, starting to think about making moves, but wasn't close enough to make one that time. Let's see how he does as they approach the hairpin here. DeLange with a pretty decent exit, a lot better than M. Doran in the Haas, I'll give you that much. And through the hairpin, it is still going to be Joe Hamster in 4th. DeLange, though, a little bit closer that time, but then DeLange has a big wiggle, so that just puts more distance between him and the Mercedes.
Absolutely, I just hope that Joe Hamster, on that great start that he's had at the moment, I don't want to jinx it like a commentator's curse or anything like that, but let's see if Joe Hamster can try and get into the top
and Mount,
3.
Here comes Turok on Luke Bailey. They're going side by side into the chicane, and Turok is able to get the move done. Very impressive.
Oh, what a move from Tarak. What a move. Unbelievable stuff. Good call there, Tim. Good call. Still watching Joe Hamster, DeLange and M. Doran also bound out for 4th, 5th and 6th place. Unbelievable stuff from these guys. And our confidence is lap 12 of 35. And we've had the first safety. We had one safety car already, guys. We've had one safety car already, and that was because of G. Queasy, who's out of the Canadian Grand Prix. So yeah, it's insane. And it's just Nico. Take it out. Take it out. So spun. taking out some spot. He's dropped himself down quite a few places actually, from 7th to 10th now, and he's under a lot of pressure could be from Luke Bailey. I'm trying to have a look to see if he's lost any from wing damage. No, he hasn't. He's lucky. He's very, very lucky. He's now putting the pressure on Tarak for 9th place, Tim.
Still watching Joe Hamster, DeLange, and M. Doran miss that moment with OHJustNico and taking L's. But OHJustNico holding on to 7th for now. Beck 9000 in 8th. DeLange still trying to chase down Joe Hamster, but really not making a lot of moves on him here. Although he has got the gap down to approximately half a second he had there for a moment, but then he loses a little bit of time out of the final chicane. So Joe Hamster still being able to hang on, and who knows, maybe even a podium is in the works for Joe Hamster if he plays his cards just right. But he's still got 1.7 seconds to the car ahead of him, which is Mr. Steen, which interestingly enough would happen to be DeLange's teammate in the Williams.
Absolutely. It just depends. It just depends if he can try and hold on as much as possible. But time will tell, Tim. Time will tell. And again, I don't want to be the commentator's curse as well. So hopefully we'll find out in time will tell, to be fair. So on lap 30 and 35, Simon Palmer's trying to pull away from Morris Lando. But don't forget, Simon Palmer, he's got 3 seconds worth of penalties. So he needs to try and get rid of that as soon as possible. So there's so many battles that we need to pick up on, Tim. We got Delange and Endoran for 5th and 6th. You got Beck, Tarak in 8th and 9th. Taking L's and Luke Bailey for 10th and 11th, which I'm just watching now. And Eric Pancakes closed the gap onto Giga Tiger for 13th place. Unbelievable stuff, Tim.
Unbelievable indeed. Lap 13 of 35, about to be lap 14 of 35 as Simon Palmer crosses the line just about now. And the Warslander and Mr. Steen, your top 3 with Joe Hamster and DeLange, your top 5. M. Doran trying to make his way up into the top 5 is who we've pretty much been watching this entire time. It's the closest battle on the racetrack, the battle essentially for 4th place. But in order to get 4th, you got to get around to 5th first, and that's what M. Doran's been trying to do. But every couple of laps, he has a moment out of really any corner to where he has a little bit of a wiggle, has to dance around with the car to get it straightened out, and he loses a lot of time to DeLange, but he gained a lot that time. So maybe M. Doran's moment is finally coming. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Malk, that the rain is starting to let up just a tiny little bit. So maybe intermediates could be in the future.
You are right, Tim, actually. Yellow flag set to 2. Yellow flag set to 2, that's Tarak. Tarak has dropped down quite a few places to 14th. So I told you, Tim, that corner just before that DRS zone, that's where people are going to be losing that car as well. Oh, M. Doran just had a little bit of a tap to DeLange on to 5th, but M. Doran's just slowing down. He could not catch up, so now DeLange is trying to close the gap onto Joe Hamster, but oh, it's just Nico trying to close the gap onto M. Doran for 6th. But you are right, Tim, the rain is slowly calming down. So I would not be surprised in the next 5 laps or so that we might see the intermediates. Well, Dave is the only one who's on the intermediates, so he'll be the one to watch. Actually, Beck and Giga Tiger, I think they're going to go for the intermediates. Yeah, they are. They're going for the intermediates, Tim.
And I would say that Dave would be the one to watch, Malk, but he's got 7 laps on those intermediates, and I understand that tire wear isn't as crucial as it is on Drive with the Tires, but Dave has that time penalty now. In fact, to elaborate on that, it's 3 seconds worth of time penalties, obviously for a corner cut or track limits there from Dave, so it's unfortunate. And you got to think, though, if the safety car came out maybe 5 to 7 laps later, pretty much right about now, a light Dave pitting for the intermediates, he would have been a hero. But instead, he made the wrong call to pit for intermediates early, and I think it's going to come back to bite him in the end. He is in 10th. It's a respectable position. If the race ended right now, he would score points. Well, he wouldn't because Eric Pancakes would jump him, but without that time penalty, he would. But I just think that he pitted a little bit too early. So what could have been a hero move if it worked out turned out to be a zero move because it didn't. Now, Beck 9000 and Ginger Tiger pitting now for their intermediate tires. Maybe that's the right call, but we still don't see a lot of takers beyond those 3. So we'll have to wait and see just when guys like Simon Palmer, the Warslander, Mr. Steen, when are they going to decide to blink?
Well, Luke Bailey and Taken Hours have blinked, and they're both going to the pits, Tim. So that means that moves Elite and Dave to move up to 8th. But regarding your query about the early pit stop of Dave, correct me if I'm wrong, Tim, he was near the back of the grid. He had nothing to lose, really. He had nothing to lose, correct me if I'm wrong. So he had to pit 8 laps ago. So he had to try and do something to catch up. But I think this could be the defining moment. But again, can he hold those intermediate tyres for the next 10 laps or so? Or probably about another 20 laps or so. It's a big call for Dave, to be fair. So it depends on if the track is getting even drier later on in the session itself. And M. Doran's from getting right close to Delange. So it's just going to be insane, Tim.
Well, Dave was actually running in the top 5 map, but Tarak is one that's really been struggling today. So out of the 2 Alpines, Dave has had the best performance. But again, like you said, regardless of where he was running, it was a difficult call to make, because on one hand you're thinking, you know, hey, maybe I could get the jump on the rest of the field. And we've seen it happen many times to where sometimes you can just nail that tire change just right, and it just works beautifully for you. But when it doesn't work, it really doesn't work. But Simon Palmer, the Wars Lander, they've all pitted for the intermediate tires. And you know what? Maybe I need to eat my words, because like Dave has actually jumped Simon Palmer. He is ahead of him, but by how much? 2.6 seconds on track. So 2.4 now. Let's see if Simon Palmer is any faster than Elite Dave, and I would suspect that he's going to be. He has been rapid quick all day long, but Elite Dave moving up into 6 now. The top 5 have yet to pit for the intermediate tires. They're deciding that they need to stay out a little bit longer. M. Doran, though, starting to get closer to Delange. Let's see if he can make the move around the Williams before they get back to the pit straight. And I have a feeling that the entire top 5 will be in the pits within the next 2 laps, if not this lap alone.
Absolutely, I wouldn't be surprised at all. But reading some of the comments, actually, it's saying results said Dave was taking a second out of Luke going out of the hairpin. That was earlier on as well. So the intermediate tyres, it is now the right call for the intermediates. But if Mr. Steen, so Delange and M. Doran have gone into the pits, and also it's just Nico. So the top 2, Joe Hamster and Mr. Steen, they're still on with those wet tyres. They're still on those wet tyres. Yellow flag set to 3. That is, I believe, taking L's, Tim.
And Elite Dave set the fastest lap, a 122.327. The longer this race goes, the more I'm afraid that I'm going to have to keep eating my words. Maybe, just maybe, Elite Dave made the right call. And I don't think that it is raining at all hardly. You can see it sprinkling a little bit. But could it be possible that within the next 15, 17 laps toward the end of this race, could we see a full dry circuit? Or is it going to be intermediates the rest of the way? If we see a full dry circuit and Elite Dave times that change perfectly, he could be looking at a podium, if not a win. And you got to think, is that time penalty? It's only 3 seconds, but 3 seconds, as we've seen in the past, can be detrimental to your race. Will it hold him back from maybe getting a win or a podium at the end of the day?
That is a tough call, actually. The way it goes at the minute, the way it looks at the moment, looks like it's going to be dry, coming up to the dry conditions near the end of the race, the way it looks. But it all depends in the next 10 laps to see if the intermediate condition wets, the rain coming in now. Is that what's going to happen? It looks like there's been contact at the hairpin corner. That might be, I believe, Giga Tiger and Eric Pancakes, I think it was. Yeah, it was. It was Eric Pancakes and Giga Tiger for 11th and 12th at the hairpin corner. So, and now Mr. Steen and Joe Hamster now finally going to the pits for the intermediate, and they've just got ahead. Oh my God! Delange and Joe Hamster go side by side, 2 wide. Is Delange going to try and go on the inside? Contact.
Oh, he does, and he spins. He's into the wall, almost is Delange after contact with Joe Hamster. Joe Hamster in 5th, Delange back to 9th.
That's... I don't... The way it looked is if Joe Hamster just got out of the pits. He exited just enough, but DeLange saw the gap, tried to make that move, and because correct me if I'm wrong, and I'll put a mistake next week if I commentate next week. But the way it looked as if Joe Hamster tried to get onto the racing line, and because DeLange caught the back end of Joe Hamster, he just spun and hit the wall as well. So that's damage and limitations for DeLange, who had a solid start to the race up to that point.
My personal opinion on it, Mal, I actually rewound the stream and took a look at it, is that Joe Hamster pretty much stayed on the racing line as if DeLange wasn't even there. And it's not like DeLange went for a dive bomb at the last possible second to where Joe Hamster couldn't react. It was just DeLange was already there. Joe Hamster just stayed on the racing line and failed to give room through that corner. So I'm not a steward. So what I think of it does not matter. But my personal opinion is that Joe Hamster could have left more room.
Yes, I do agree. But again, the camera angle that I saw was a little bit different because I was watching it from, I can't remember who was behind Joe Hamster and DeLange, but from that incident itself, the camera angle that I had from the car view, I couldn't see if there was enough room to give enough space through there. But if you saw it differently, Tim, I'll go with what you said there as well. So, but yeah, that'll probably be looked at by the stewards afterwards. But in this situation, it's just really unlucky for DeLange, who's just dropped down to 12th place. Tim.
So currently watching M. Doran once again, and if you take a look, it's not really let up on the rain, and in fact I think that the rain's actually gotten a tad bit heavier from the last 2 laps, so everything's really changing. But Simon Palmer, a big development that happened a lap ago that I failed to mention, is if you take a look at that number next to his time penalty symbol, it's now a 6. It was a 3. He picked up another 3-second time penalty just a lap ago. So now, if the race were to end at this very moment, Elite Dave would have the win. Now, he would have still had the win before because they both had 3 seconds worth of time penalties, but Simon Palmer now has more to lose because the Warslander could jump him.
Yeah, but if Warslander can get under 3 seconds, then, you know, anything could happen in this situation. It just all depends on how Warslander can try and catch up to Dave, But yeah, if Dave can hold on, if it stays like this, obviously, if it stays like this would be fantastic. Luke Bailey's got a 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings, so he'll be absolutely livid with that. And he's in 9th at the moment. He's actually in 9th. So it's just been an absolutely stellar race, to be fair, Tim. And there's 2 battles, well, actually 3 battles that we have got currently at the minute. Dave and Simon Palmer for 1st and 2nd. We've got M. Doran and Owen Sneaker, which I'm watching right here, right now. And also Giga Tiger and DeLange for 11th and 12th, respectively, Tim.
As Mr. Steen and then Joe Hamster set the fastest lap, a 1:20.621 for Joe Hamster. Elite Dave, Simon Palmer, the Warslander, your top 3. Mr. Steen, Joe Hamster, your top 5. This is the Invictus Racing League PS F2 League, brought to you in partnership by GridFinder.com, Nailcoat Hall, and Driver61. Big shout out to our sponsors for jumping on board this season, supporting the stream and a league as a whole. You are watching the battle for the lead, Elite Dave versus Simon Palmer, both of them with time penalties, but Elite Dave has 3 seconds. Simon Palmer, he has a big 6 seconds worth of time penalties, and then the Warslander in 3rd, he has 0 time penalties. So the Warslander, if he can get within 2 seconds of Simon Palmer, then that would do wonders for his race, because that means that he could potentially jump both of these cars and get into the lead at the end of this race. But it is still a long way to go, just under 15 laps remaining in the Canadian Grand Prix here.
Absolutely, and anything can happen. Yellow flag sectors 2 and 3. That is, I believe, Giga Tiger. Giga Tiger's lost it just after the 2nd sector, and there was yellow flag sector 3 as well. I think that might be from Giga Tiger's point of view. Sorry. So yeah, Giga Tiger's had a mare from one of the corners as well. M. Doran's got the fastest lap of the race now with a 1:20.129. So. But his hat-trick opportunity to win 3 races in a row, it's going to be a mammoth task for M. Doran to win the race, but who knows in F1? Who knows in F1? Anything could happen in this race itself. So, and correct me if I'm wrong, Tim, the rain is slowly still, I know it's still raining, but it's not as much heavier than before now.
About 5 laps ago, it was a light drizzle. Then 2 laps ago, it picked up a little bit. Now it's back to a light drizzle once again. So you are right now. The rain is starting to get a little bit lighter, but I don't know. I'm honestly surprised that it's not dry at this point. I really thought 5 laps ago when it started to go to a light rain that by now it would be almost non-existent and that we'd be talking about a switch to dries in the near future. But it is still raining. It looks like it might end as a wet race, so who knows how that's going to go. Elite Dave, though, coming into the pits after 15 laps on those intermediate tires, so the gamble did not pay off for him. Let's see what he does going onto a fresh set of intermediates, which of course was to be expected since it is still raining. And it's unfortunate that the gamble didn't really pay off, because if it had stopped raining 5 laps ago, then he might have just been able to switch to the softs and be okay. Granted, the softs, making them last 12 laps or so, would be a stretch around here, but not entirely impossible.
No, it wouldn't be entirely impossible, to be fair, but the track at the Canadian Grand Prix had the Circuit de Gilles Villeneuve as well, so it's the tyre deck is still not great either ways. It's not as worse as like China or Spain, you know, not as worse as those, but if they can manage it, if they can have the medium tyre, the hard tyre, just to get... I tell you what, I mean, I know this might be a gamble now, but I know it's still raining, but I reckon the next, if it calms down the next few laps, I will not be surprised if we see people hitting their softs in the next few laps. If it's calmed down, but I can't see that happening.
And we're kind of almost running into a situation that we saw in Sochi with the real-life F1 race on Sunday. Not quite as dramatic, though, where in that particular race you had it raining only in one portion of the track. Here it is definitely raining in every portion of the track, just maybe one section a little bit drier than the other. So we don't have that dramatic of a decision to where it's a make-or-break decision, but it could turn into a semi-similar situation of make-or-break, because as you were saying, when it dries up, it's going to be a crucial decision, as Beck 9000 has spun out of turn number 2, so the McLaren dropping down to 9th place now, and Light Dave being given the 7th position after that. Now Beck 9000 down to 10th because Eric Pancakes is able to move around him.
Absolutely, and that was unfortunate for Beck 9000. He spun after turn 2, so he'll have to do his, work his magic out again to get through the positions itself. So just having a quick look at the Taken Else has got Jamster's back end is completely lost it at the hairpin corner, so that may have caught Doran off guard a little bit, but hopefully he'll try and put the pressure on massively. So at the moment, Joe Hamster is the biggest mover at the moment, from 15th all the way to 4th. A yellow flag set 3, I believe that is that might be Eric Pancakes actually, Tim. Eric Pancakes and Mr. Steve got the fastest of the race.
And Turok and Eric Pancakes actually battling it out there, or actually, no, you are correct. Eric Pancakes has spun, so Turok inherited the 11th position by default there. So we'll go back to the battle between M. Doran and Joe Hamster. 8 laps on the intermediate tires for M. Doran, 7 laps on Joe Hamster's tires, but Joe Hamster also has a time penalty, 3 seconds worth of time penalties, as you can see there. Simon Palmer, of course, with 6, and just barely keeping the 6-second gap ahead of the Warslander, which now it's under 6 seconds. So Simon Palmer probably sweating, trying to make sure that he wins this race, but knowing that it is so close, and still with so much racing left to go, 10 laps to go, in fact, in the Canadian Grand Prix. And Endoran, your points leader going into this race, won the last 2 races, potentially on for a top 5 today, if not a little bit better. But he has got a lot of climbing to do if he's going to catch Mr. Steen in 3rd. And quite frankly, I just don't think that that's possible without a safety car. But he can get around Joe Hamster for the 4th position, and 4th place is a good points day.
You beat me to it. I was about to say, unless it's another safety car scenario to get them to get close. But that's the only way if Endoran wants to try and win this race and put the pressure on. But it would really annoy Simon Palmer if he do get a safety car, because he's working his socks off to get not to get off that or try and get rid of that 6-second gap, and that's what he's trying to do as much as possible. But if he does pull it off to finish off the race over 6 seconds with the gap between himself and Morris Lander, that is impressive, to be fair. That really is impressive. Just watching Endoran now closing the gap onto Joe Hamster. Endoran needs to try and put the pressure on massively if he wants to try and get 4th. But I think he wants to try and make the move done on track too. I don't think he wants to try and do it with the penalties itself. But all I'm going to say is fair play to Joe Hamster, who's done a stellar job to hold on for 4th at this moment. And it looks like Endoran's tried everything he can and tried like every rule book that he can to make the move done. Now it's just brought a lot of issues now because Joe Hamster's pulling away from Endoran, Tim.
And honestly, I think that if Endoran was able to get around Joe Hamster fairly soon, he would at least have a chance. Not a guarantee, but a chance to chase down and overtake Mr. Steen. Like I said, it would be a huge climb. It's a big obstacle, but I don't think it's exactly unrealistic, especially when you take into consideration that Mr. Steen has caught the Warslander and is going to be locked in a battle with him at least for the remainder of this lap, if not longer. Mr. Steen might be quicker than the Warslander. We saw him get the fastest lap just a couple of laps ago. So if Mr. Steen gets around him, then he is gone. But if the Warslander holds him up and Endoran gets around Joe Hamster, we might see a 3 or 4 car battle for the final podium positions. But Endoran just picked up a time penalty.
I was just about to say, Joe Hamster's had another penalty, so he's got 6 seconds worth of penalties, and Endoran has just got his first penalty of the evening with 3 seconds. Oh, it's Nico, got 3 seconds, so he's getting close to Endoran as well. So these 3 drivers battling out for 5th. It's going to be unbelievable for the battle for 4th. And also, Dave with that fresh tyres, don't get me wrong, Tim, he's on that fresh tyres on the intermediates and could catch up to these guys in the next 2 laps or so.
And a light Dave, who might still salvage a top 5 out of this day if everything goes well for him. Maybe could have had a win there toward the end, but the safety car did not fall in the right time. And really, you got to think, if the safety car came maybe 3 or 4 laps later than it did, then that move might have worked for Elite Dave. But ultimately, he had to pit there to change to a fresh set of intermediate tires, and he pitted after it was 15 laps on those tires. Now, Simon Palmer's going to reach that point in about 3 laps. I wonder, is he thinking about pitting? Is that an option? Is it an option to go the full way? Because after 3 laps, he'll only have, 2 or 3 more to go, if I'm doing my math right. So, theoretically, he could probably hold out and be okay. But I'm kind of wondering, are we going to see another round of pit stops here toward the end? Because I think that we can give up on the idea of it drying up. So if anyone pitted, it would have to be for a fresh set of intermediates. And I just think that you'd lose more time if you pit now than to just take the gamble and stay out.
I personally would stay out because of the conditions. And it just depends on how you feel the tyre wear at the same time. It could be that they were trying to pit in early, trying to use that as well. Taken Hours has retired. Taken Hours has retired from the session. I'm not sure where he was, but Endoran's making a move on the inside of turn 1. Boom! Oh, what a move! And he's still going. Joe Hamster's still going. But Endoran was patiently waiting to make that move done. I think if that's gonna cost him the podium. And now he's going to have to chase Mr. Steve for third place if he wants to try and keep that record going of being the podium for the hat-trick of podiums this evening. But what a move there from Endor. But related to your question earlier, Tim, for Simon Palmer, I would stay out. I wouldn't gamble to go back into the pits because, as you rightly said, normally the pit stop's about a 20-second gap, normally about 20 to 25 seconds. So he would have dropped down to at least 7th or 8th the way it goes. So no, I wouldn't risk it, and especially on that scenario that he's in the lead as well. I know Simon Palmer would not pick now, Tim.
Oh yeah, and Simon Palmer, the Warslander, maybe even Mr. Steen, that's just not an option. But I'm thinking, maybe around the top 5-ish, if there would be any benefit whatsoever. But I do have to agree that there would not be. We kind of get close to flirting with that window, but it's just so close to the end of the race that it's not worth it at all. In fact, it would just be very detrimental to your own race. It would just kind of be like shooting yourself in the foot. But you kind of got to think, if the tires are getting to the point to where it's hard to drive, the thought's probably at least there. And some of these people could theoretically pit and go for the fastest lap. The problem is, how much time would you lose? Because there's no one in the top 10 with a safe gap. Like you said, 20, 25 seconds is usually the pit gap. Eric Pancakes could probably pit right now and not lose the spot to Ginger Tiger, but getting the fastest lap would not do him any good because he's not in the top 10, he's not scoring points. Now, if Mr. Steen pitted right now, he could probably go for the fastest lap, which I think he already has anyway, but he would lose the podium. No. So there's just no scenario where that's going to happen, but it kind of makes you think, has anyone even thought about it? Because we don't know what's going on in their head.
Well, just as said that, Tim, Beck just got the fastest lap of the race now with a 119.188, so it just took off Mr. Steen's. Well, actually, it took off, it's just Nico's? Oh no, it was Elite and El Dave's time, but Mr. Steen getting close to the gap of Warslander for a second. He knows that M. Doran is catching him up slowly and under a lot of pressure. So if M. Doran can try and get into the top 3, that'll be fantastic. But as things stand, well, either way, M. Doran has to beat Mr. Steen and also try and get a 3-second gap on top of that as well. And that's going to be impossible, I think. It's going to be massively impossible in the next 3 laps, Tim.
If he had 5 extra laps, it might be doable. But I want you to take a look, though. When M. Doran made that move over Joe Hamster, the gap was 3.1 seconds to Mr. Steen. It is now 1.5. Without that time penalty, I think that M. Doran could be looking at a podium. But with that time penalty, he better hope that Mr. Steen picks up 3 seconds and that he can get around him. That is his only shot at the podium without a catastrophic mistake from the top 3.
I do agree, Tim. I do agree. But at the moment, I can't see Warslander or Mr. Steen have a penalty. I tell you what, I've just done a commentator's curse. I've just done it. So Mr. Steen has now got a penalty. This is now M. Doran's chance to get into the top 3.
Now notice how fast is that Haas driving now that he knows Mr. Steen has a time penalty. He took a 10th out of those 2 corners alone. M. Doran is a man on a mission, and I know that the driver in that car, this is just a virtual avatar as a placeholder of the actual driver, because the actual driver is somewhere in their house in front of their TV, but you can still see the fire in their eyes.
Absolutely. Yellow flag set to 2. I think that might be... I'm not sure that is, actually. I think that might be Eric Pancakes again. Actually, that might be Eric Pancakes. Just gone past a Ferrari. So, at the moment, Mr. Steen, I would pour a lot of sweat, actually, because now, look at M. Doran now, 6 tenths. 6 tenths. And you can see the 2nd and 3rd place. Oh, my God, Tim. If Warslander gets a penalty at this stage now, this is going to be intense finale for the next 2 laps. But Mr. Steen will be kicking himself if he loses this podium tonight, Tim.
And M. Doran might be the one that he loses it to. Lap 34 of 35. Just a few more laps to go. This is... Oh, and Mr. Steen, he slides. He hangs on to it. Mr. Steen not giving up whatsoever. Here comes the little chicane. Be careful to not pick up another time penalty, Mr. Steen or M. Doran, either of you, because the podium is on the line. Simon Palmer is 8.3 seconds ahead of the Warslander. Very safe from time penalties as long as he keeps that gap. M. Doran, though, is racing Mr. Steen for the final podium position. There you see the time penalties. 3 seconds between the two of them. So whoever finishes in front of the other is the one that gets the position. Delays with a 3-second time penalty, but that does not affect our top three at the moment. M. Doran with a great run out of that corner, but will he be able to even challenge in the hairpin? No, he will not. Hard on the brakes, looking on the inside, not able to do anything with it, but a good exit out of this corner could set himself up beautifully for the final chicane. And Malk, look at the weather. It is not raining anymore, but it's the end of the race.
DRS is activated, Tim. DRS is activated on this track, and that's what's happened now. We're on the final lap now. We're on the final lap of this race. Jobs has dropped down to 6. Oh, it's just no. Jobs has moved to.
Oh, and here comes M. Doran. M. Doran going around the outside of Mr. Steen. They're side by side into turn number 1.
Come on.
And out of turn number 2, M. Doran might be able to get around Mr. Steen. Mr. Steen drops down to 4th. M. Doran up to 3rd. This is the battle for the podium, and both of these drivers know it. Through the chicane, one final time in Sector 1. M. Doran ahead of Mr. Steen. Both of them taking it very easily. They're calming down just a little bit now. Mr. Steen losing a little bit of ground, but there's no rain. The track is almost completely dry. So, as you said, Malk, with the DRS, this could be Mr. Steen's only chance to get it back around M. Doran. Mr. Steen held on to that podium until the last lap. Maybe he can get it back from M. Doran. Maybe he can't. We're about to find out. A little bit of a wiggle might have just killed Mr. Steen's chances at getting it. He needs to get within a second of him to get to this activation zone, and I don't think he's going to make it work, so he's not going to have DRS down this straightaway. It's going to be very close. Simon Palmer is 8 seconds ahead of the Warslander, who you see in second place. There's no DRS for Mr. Steen, so it might be all over for him. But Simon Palmer is coming out of the final chicane. He's going to cross the line. He got the pole. Now he gets the win. Congratulations to Simon Palmer, the Warslander in second, and M. Doran going a little bit wide, but hanging on to it for the 3rd position. The Warslander finishes in second, M. Doran in 3rd, Mr. Steen in 4th, Joe Hamster in 5th. After starting in 15th, will jump 9 spots because Light Dave jumps in because of time penalty. So Light Dave, he had a top 5 run going, pitted early for the intermediates, but he still broke even and got a top 5. Congratulations to him. Congratulations to Joe Hamster on making up 9 spots. Congratulations to your winner of Simon Palmer and the Warslander and M. Doran, your top 3. This is the Invictus Racing League's PS F2 League, brought to you in partnership by GridFinder.com, Nailcoat Hall, and Driver61. And what you saw was a miraculous battle for the final podium position between your points leader of M. Doran and Mr. Steen, who was just out there trying to race and get that podium position, but ultimately came up 1 second short.
Absolutely, and Luke Bailey just nicked the last fastest lap of the race with that soft tyre, and he did pit early at lap 34, so well done to him. Joe Hamster, driver of the day. I think we both agree with that, Tim. I think Joe Hamster was the driver of the day, was our biggest movers of the race. But Simon Palmer as well, well done to him. He's won the Canadian Grand Prix, and what a stellar of a job, because he was under a lot of pressure, especially with that 6 seconds worth of penalties against the Warslander. So, insane drive, but we wait to hear what his words are in the podium, in the commentator's box as well. Same for Warslander and M. Doran as well, if they are available with the commentator's box as well. So here we go. Let you to do the race classification, Tim.
And your official finishing results for the Invictus Racing League's F2 League is Simon Palmer in the Canadian Grand Prix, taking the victory in the Ferrari. The Warslander in second, M. Doran in third, Mr. Steen in fourth, and the Williams, the Alpine of Light Dave, rebounding to a top 5. Joe Hamster rebounding to a top 6 in the Mercedes. Oh, it's just Nico in 7th, Williams of Delange in 8th, 9th is Luke Bailey, 10th is Turok, 11th is Beck 9000, Ginger Tiger in 12th, Eric Pancakes in 13th, 14th is Taking L's, and G Queasy in 15th position. Today's race was pretty much Simon Palmer's, and he won by a gap of 2.6 seconds. Of course, that was because of a 6-second time penalty. He was actually 8 seconds ahead of the Worslander on track, but you know what? Time penalties will come back to bite you. But today, it didn't bite Simon Palmer quite as badly as he feared that it would. We'll talk to Simon Palmer, the Worslander, and M. Doran if they want an interview here momentarily. But that was a very impressive, dramatic, interesting, and entertaining wet Canadian Grand Prix.
Absolutely, and it's just insane, to be fair. Absolutely insane. And I would like to hear what they were going to say with their words of the podium itself. So we'll try and get the drivers to come in, and once they're in, we'll get yourself, Tim, to answer the questions, to hear their thoughts of the race itself. But what a race. What a race. What a finale, actually. What a finale itself. So should be insane, to be fair. So we're just waiting for M. Doran to join in. And if he does join in, we'll give it a minute or two. But for the guys who are in the commentators box, can you please make sure you allow a voice to be shared? It's set to always allow. If you're not sure how to do it, go to the party settings. There's an option called allow voice to be shared. Make sure it's set to always allow. And that's all we ask for, guys. So I believe we've got Simon Palmer and the Worslander in the commentators box. We're just waiting for M. Doran to kick off. But while Tim said to get his build up with the questions, if you liked what you see, guys, if you like that race, please make sure you like and subscribe to the Invictus Racing League YouTube channel for all the live races itself, and also if you can, guys, can you please make sure you get at least 10 likes? We need at least 10 likes for this stream tonight. It would be a massive help. Click that like button, and we aim for at least 10 likes tonight. It would be an absolute blast. Thank you so much for that. So I don't think M. Doran's going to pop on. So Simon Palmer and Worslander, you guys ready? All set, ready to go?
Yes, mate. Yep.
Nice one. So Tim, it's all yours, mate, for the questions.
And we will start with our winner, Simon Palmer, in the Ferrari. Going into this race, you were 6th in points. If my math is correct, and don't quote me on this, you should be 3rd in the points after this win today. Now, you went into the qualifying, you got the pole. I think you dropped down to 2nd early on before you overtook Worslander to eventually win the race, and for the most part, you stayed up front all day. What were your expectations going into Canada?
Through testing, I knew there was pace there. I was disappointed to see there was rain. That kind of put a spanner in the works. But yeah, I knew there could be a result there. So yeah, happy as anything. A nice win, man. It's been ages. I'm over the moon.
So tell us about your decision to potentially change the car setup because you knew that it was going to be a wet race. Now, granted, it's usually an easy decision that if most of the race is supposed to be wet, you need that wet weather setup. But just tell us about what goes through your mind when you see a dry qualifying in a wet race.
Well, I was obviously in a party with Luke, and we were chatting about the setup of the car. We're like, well, what do we do? And we were running quite a high downforce setup anyway. So there wasn't an awful lot we could really do apart from maybe raise the rear ride height a tad, but then it was high anyway. So to be honest, I ran exactly the same setup as what I would have done in the dry. And yeah, it paid off. It felt okay. There was a few twitchy moments, but I think that was just trying to get on the power a bit too early and to obviously maintain gaps. But yeah, overall, it felt good.
And how are you feeling about next week, especially now that you're looking a little bit better in the championship standings?
Yeah, I mean, obviously on to the next one. So if we can nab some more good points. I mean, obviously at the moment, I think both Luke and I are looking like collectively as a team for Ferrari. I think this puts us back onto the top again. I think I was actually sitting 5th in the standings because of penalties from last week. So I don't quite know where it's going to end up after tonight, but. No, yeah, I'm looking forward to next week and hopefully some more points.
Well, congratulations, Simon, on your win today. I can definitely tell that you're happy about it.
Oh, yes. Oh, big time.
Good job. We'll talk to our second place finisher, the Warislander in the Alpha Tauri. The Warislander, you were the only driver, I think in the top 5, maybe even the top 6, to not have a time penalty. And considering it's Canada, that is impressive in its own right. And you rebounded to a second place finisher. I say rebounded, I should really just say finished, because you were fast all day long. You got around Simon Palmer, but then he ultimately got back around you, and it seemed that from there he was just gone. Is there anything different that you could have done today?
Well, let me start off with congratulating Simon.
Thanks, Boris.
Yeah, great pace. I just couldn't keep up. But there was one thing, and I don't know what the rules are, but I believe you overtook me behind the safety car, and I couldn't get past anymore. So I don't really think it's your fault, but the game just didn't let me pass. And
I think
otherwise,
I just about got you coming out the hairpin. It was so close, literally. I noticed that as well, and that's why I tried to let you back through, because I wasn't sure.
Yeah,
and then I thought it was to overtake you.
Yeah, I thought it was like a glitch or something.
It was so close. I think I literally just got ahead when it come out.
Yeah, it could be. I'm just going to look it back, but yeah, on true pace you were the better driver anyway, and but that's a shame, because I think in the rain it's very difficult to overtake, and I could have possibly kept you behind for a bit longer. But in the end I was quite happy with my pace, because I didn't even practice that much, and I was almost on pole, and in the end got a podium, so delighted actually.
So how are you feeling now about your championship hopes and really your race next week? It's sort of a double part question, because going into this race, you personally were looking sort of okay, but sort of not. You were in 9th place. Now with the podium, you should jump up a little bit.
Yeah, I think my pace all around is very good here in this league. So I can just fight for podiums and wins. Yeah, I was a bit unlucky with the race win that in the end wasn't a race win, and I became 6th, and had a bit more like, well, just not results. But I think this is my pace, like P2, maybe P1 with a bit of luck. So I think I can still go for that championship, and I will really try to win it.
Well, I wish you the best of luck with that, the Warislander, and congratulations on your podium today. So, Malk,
thank you.
Do you have any closing thoughts? Because unfortunately, we cannot speak to to Imdoran.
To be fair, congratulations to Simon Palmer on his day. I've known him for like many years in the race itself, and I think that was his best ever performance from his driving. So Simon Palmer, if you're still there, congratulations, mate. Well done, mate.
Cheers, mate. Thank you.
Warislander, you had that opportunity to close the gap, and I thought you got him at some points, but then he just, as you said, he just pulled away at certain points. But well done to you, Warislander, for finishing second place. But yeah, Doran, great drive for him to recover, but he's got his third podium, well, third hat-trick of a podium, should we say, so well done to him as well. It's not the third win on the bounce, but he's still got a podium hat-trick. Joe Armstrong with I think the drive of the day, from the back of the grid to, I think it was 6, so yeah, there's been some great unbelievable modes that we did not expect in the race itself. So from the heavy rain all the way down to the clear, dry ending of 2-lap finale, shall we say. So absolutely insane, Tim.
Insane indeed. And, you know, we were right, Malk, that it would dry up at the end, but I don't think that either of us anticipated it would be literally at the end. But Luke Bailey was able to go out on the softs, get the fastest lap, as you said, and finish 9th. So an extra point for Ferrari and for Luke Bailey. So that helps him in constructors and the driver standings. And, of course, Simon Palmer winning the race. That does just a little bit for the constructor standings as well, for Ferrari's sake. And with that, that is all the time that we have. So thank you all so much to those who watched. Thank you to everyone who raced with us. Congratulations to our top 3 finishers. And thank you to our sponsors, Driver61, Nailcoat Hall, and GridFinder.com for jumping on board, supporting the stream and the league as a whole. And until next time, I am Tim. Have fun, and goodbye.
And I'm Malk. And goodbye, guys. See you later. Take care yourselves. Bye-bye.